With an event as large as World War II, it's no wonder that some paranormal stories came out of it. I'm Rob from Quick History, and from ghosts to strange Nazi weapons, here are the top paranormal stories of World War II. Timur's Curse is one of the most famous paranormal stories to come out of Russia during the war. Timur was a 14th century warlord who descended from the Mongols. Like his predecessor Genghis Khan, he wanted to build an empire and spread his dominance among the land. With an empire spreading from Turkey to China and 17 million dead, Timur too eventually died in 1405. He was laid to rest in Uzbekistan, which was part of the Soviet Union during the 1940s. Now you may be wondering why this is relevant to a video about World War II. Well, on the 19th of June 1941, a Soviet anthropologist called Mikhail Gerasimov exhumed Timur's body with the hopes of reconstructing the likeness of Timur's face using his skull, something the anthropologist was famous for. On the tomb, an inscription reads, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble," to deter grave robbers. When the anthropologist exhumed the body, he discovered a further, hidden transcription that reads, "Whomever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." Just 3 days after the excavation began, Nazi Germany, commanded by Adolf Hitler, launched Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. It was the largest military invasion of all time and resulted in more than 20 million Russians losing their lives. Battle after battle was lost to the Germans, so it was said that Joseph Stalin himself ordered the return of Timur's remains and for him to be buried with full Islamic rites to appease his spirit. After the remains of Timur were reburied in November 1942, the Soviet army won a major victory in the Battle of Stalingrad, the largest and bloodiest battle of the war and in human history. Was Timur's Curse responsible for the events in Russia during the time? Or was it all a coincidence? Whatever you believe, an invader more terrible than Timur certainly did descend on those who opened the tomb. Ghost or phantom planes were reported numerous times during the war. Perhaps the most famous ghost plane story is the one concerning the P-40 incident near Pearl Harbor. On the 8th of December 1942, a year and a day after the deadly attack on Pearl Harbor by the Imperial Japanese Navy, American radar stations in Hawaii picked up a strange signal heading towards them from the west. During this stage of the war, Japan still posed a threat in the area, so the Americans feared that another attack was incoming. Fighter planes were launched to intercept the lone plane, but they were surprised to see that it wasn't a Japanese bomber plane, as they had naturally expected. It was an American Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, a fighter and later ground attack aircraft. While they were relieved to see that it was not an incoming attack, the unusual nature of the plane began to deepen. First of all, the P-40 was obsolete and very rarely used after the Pearl Harbor attack a year previously. Second of all, it was alone and not in a usual squadron or within an accompanying aircraft. Thirdly, it had extensive battle damage in the forms of bullet holes, a partially broken wing, and a missing landing gear. Finally, and most puzzling of all, the pilot was covered in blood and slumped over the controls, despite being airborne. Before the plane crash landed, it was said that one of the pursuing pilots witnessed the injured man waving. When people went to investigate the crash site, the pilot had mysteriously vanished. A diary found in the wreckage stated that the plane was stationed on the island of Mindanao, around 1,300 miles away in the Pacific Ocean. While it is possible that the plane was loaded with fuel and flown to Hawaii, what happened to the pilot? Was it a ghost, or did he simply survive the crash and leave the plane by himself? The Nazis devoted a lot of time and effort into developing superweapons to help them win the war. However, none are more unusual than Die Glock, which, when translated into English, means the bell. At the WWII German research facility on the German-Czech border, it is claimed that top-level SS scientists created an advanced, deadly weapon. 2 cylinders filled with a mercury-like substance, codenamed Serum 525, would counter-rotate in a large, heavy metal dome in the shape of a bell. When this happened, the bell would create a 200-meter death zone around it. In this zone, plants would wither, crystals would form within animal tissue, and blood in humans would coagulate, killing them. In fact, during the testing of this so-called superweapon, 5 of the 7 scientists were apparently killed. Other bizarre stories would come out about this bell. One of them even claimed it had anti-gravity properties, or that it could even allow you to see images of the past and future with the aid of a concave mirror. The Nazis certainly did create some strange and advanced weapons for their time, but I'm not sure about this one. There is no trace of the bell today, and no documents were found post-war that pointed towards its creation. Do you think it was a real weapon, or a product of fantasy? If it was a real weapon, who has it now? Now I'm actually cheating for this one, because this mysterious event actually took place just after the war in December 1945, but since it's so close to the war and unusual, I thought I would include it in this video too. 5 Avenger bomber planes with a total of 14 crew members were flying over the Bermuda Triangle to conduct a bombing exercise for training purposes. 2 hours into the journey, the flight leader's compasses started to malfunction. As clouds and winds were picking up in the area, this made for a dire situation. Strange enough, when the crew reported on malfunctioning compasses, none of the pilots made any mention of the poor weather. Unable to get an accurate compass reading, the pilots became lost over the ocean. Intermittent radio messages were heard about the pilots trying to make for the coast, but they grew fainter once the storm came in and interfered with the radios. The last message received was an eerie one. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. When they were reported missing, a PBY Catalina flying boat went out in search of the lost planes, only to crash into the sea, with all 13 crew members losing their lives. The fate of the lost planes of Flight 19, however, remains unknown to this day. And like so many planes and ships, their fate rests somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. Where did they disappear? Did they crash? Or did something else happen to them? What do you think? These are just 4 of the many strange paranormal or occult stories from World War II. My personal favourite is Timur's Curse because it's just so crazy. It's like something out of a movie. Which one was your favourite? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Also, check out my other videos too. My last video introduces some of the strangest photographs from World War II. I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, have a great Halloween and see you in the next video. Bye.